All right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Moros Protocol. Face the darkness in Moros Protocol, a pixel-painted sci-fi FPS roguelike. Roguelite. That is important.
Yes.
Survive the nightmare alone or with allies as you navigate the decaying warship, stalked by horrors and guided by a voice you don't recognize. Adapt, upgrade, and push forward. You may be outnumbered, but not outmatched. Well, you are at the outset. After all, it's a roguelite.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you going to be starting out here? Pretty basic. And yeah, it's on the roguelite side of things. Or like a roguelite like. Point is, there's meta progression.
Mm.
So, your individual runs aren't as important as gathering the, I forget what they call it in game, the meta currency. So you can unlock various attributes and build up your character until you eventually have enough baseline upgrades to potentially complete a section of the game, of which there are 3. I did manage to break through one of those because, well, once again, this is a roguelike, it is, pretty difficult. Mainly in the bosses. Like, the individual levels, they're not that difficult. Obviously, they do get more difficult as the levels go on. There definitely is a period of adjustment between the first section of the game and the second section. But nothing quite as sharp as the bosses. More on them later. So, as you may be able to see here, it's a sci-fi based FPS game, and in the blurbs it mentioned it's pixel painted, which I think is a good way to describe how the pixelization effect is implemented here. I suppose you could call this a boomer shooter. Definitely plays enough like one, but I'm a bit hesitant because we've talked about this before, but it's one of those, I guess it's going for a retro aesthetic of some sort, but, well, look at the thing. It doesn't really look like a retro game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, without the pixelization effect and, I don't know, maybe like the shape of some of the katanas and a few other things, I would be hard-pressed to call this a boomer shooter in the classical sense of the term, i.e., this is something invoking the 90s.
Yeah, if they remove the pixelized stuff, you wouldn't be able to tell this wasn't a modern game, or there'd be nothing to show like it was classic styled rather.
That being said, it very much plays like one.
Mm.
In terms of like its actual gameplay mechanics, maybe a bit more advanced because you have a run button, you have a dash button. By the way, your dash is going to be a very good friend of yours, especially, once again, during the bosses. You're going to want to nail that. And once again, that's, those are not things you really needed to do in an actual 90s FPS. But right. I suppose that's splitting hairs. Because this game is definitely among one of the, if not bloodiest, it's probably the goriest FPSs I've ever played. I mean that in like a literal term. Like there is a lot of fucking viscera in this game.
Yeah, even just like on the like title imagery and stuff.
Yeah. And it's not just that we have a lot of organs and guts and shit splayed about. Everything is very wet looking. It's a nice effect. Maybe a subset of using the Unity engine. Not sure. But it's like definitely a good invocation of a very gooey place that probably smells very terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
I
in
think
fact,
your character looks to be in some sort of spacesuit, and it probably helps.
yeah. You play as a space marine. I believe he's a space marine called Alex. Like there was a story going on here. I paid about zero attention to it. I'm like, and like again, once again, I guess this is a horror game in theory because once again, look at it. If you don't see the footage, but it's one of those. The gameplay and the mechanics aren't really opting for horror; they're opting for action.
To me, it seems kind of more like early Doom.
Yeah, something like that.
And not as much Doom 3 where it tried to actually be a horror game.
Yeah. And the enemies you fight, various aliens, larval worm creatures a lot of the time, fighting zombies, and how they handle enemies in this game was very interesting. I don't think I've quite seen an FPS game do what this game does. And that is, there's kind of a, how do I put this, two-tiered system. As in you can do regular attack, point gun or sword or whatever at thing and end them. And then most creatures, if not all, have a weak point. Sometimes very obvious, sometimes not so much. But the point is, this is a game where numbers appear, which I know does drive some people angry, especially if it's in a setting like this,
right?
Where it's not actually a role-playing game. But honestly, I didn't find the numbers to be detracting because, well, once again, look at the thing. Like, it's not really going for realism.
And like most of these monsters look tough enough, they probably would definitely shrug off simpler gunfire.
Yeah. The point is, if you hit them in their weak spot, you will deal extra damage to them. And that is very much a strategy, and that goes up into including the bosses.
I guess
like
how telegraphed is said weak spot.
Once again, it depends on the boss. Depends on the creature. Some of them, they have a classic video game weak spot. You know it. You love it. It's the big old blinky spot that says, fuck me right here.
Yeah.
Like,
please insert bullet here.
Yeah. Like, a good example is the final boss of the storage area. This big bruising Hulk called the Mother, who oddly enough wields a living mace. It's actually kind of weird.
I think they just rolled by that in the trailer. It had a giant green glowing spot in the chest.
Yep.
I wonder where the bullets go.
Well, ideally, there. Easier said than done.
Well, yeah, obviously that's the whole conceit.
Yeah. For contrast, like the second boss, the the anime girl that with the wings and the there's no other way to say it, very sculpted ass. I'm like, oh god, when she first showed up and like her design made me laugh. Like I literally laughed out loud because I'm like, oh god, you're trying to have sexy time with this thing. This isn't working.
This sounded
I
like
mean,
this
I
would
guess.
have been a much more enjoyable thing on Friday than Mining Company. I know it's not
Oh yeah,
co-op, but
this is a much better game than Mining Company. Like, I put a shocking amount of hours into this for a game for review. Like, I think I put about 15 hours into it. Just more than the usual.
right.
Like, um, um, but anyway, so getting back to the gameplay details, as far as what you can equip, so you've got 3 slots. You've got a melee weapon. You've got, well, you've got 2 empty slots, which you can fill with either an energy weapon, a physical weapon, i.e., do you use bullets or like energy blasts or some variant therein, um, or you can carry 2 of the same type. I honestly didn't do that because I'm not actually sure if the ammo is cross-pollinated. Like, yeah, so I figured it was better to carry 1 physical weapon and 1 energy weapon.
Right. Hit scan or projectile for the weaponry.
Projectile most of the time. I'm trying to remember if like the pistols were projectile or yeah, I think I think everything here is projectile. And obviously you will be able to get weapons and change them out. Unfortunately, the downsides of this being a roguelike will hit. It's a problem with the entire genre rule set, however you want to define it. And that is, you are completely at the mercy of the RNG gods. That is to say, you might find a level 4 weapon on the first outing. Conversely, you might find some level 1 stuff at the end. Once again, that's just kind of how roguelikes work.
Yeah.
It's the random factor. Now, there are meta upgrades where you will be able to start with like a level 1 energy weapon, level 1 physical weapon, that sort of thing. And also there are augments, which are like the in-game upgrades. Like, as in, they're the upgrades you get that will boost your abilities or something like that. Be able to do more damage, take more damage, increase your health, that sort of thing, or some sort of trade-off. And they come in 2 varieties. They come in the regular augment, and then there's the implant. The implant actually requires a bit more consideration to use because, well, you know what an implant is. It's implanted, which means it can't be removed. So basically, you are giving up a augment slot to something.
Basically, think of like a cursed item almost in like your typical RPG.
Yep, exactly like that. Only it has a positive effect. Like, there are no, surprisingly, there are no negative implants. Like, once again, this is a roguelike, so there was a pretty good chance that they would have introduced their version of what they call skulls.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if that is the case, then that is way distant into the game than what I got.
Mm.
But I don't know. It didn't seem like this was the type of game to do that. Or maybe that comes later. This is still getting support. One of the most important aspects is health, because health is operated, or at least regularly operated, with a system they call the HP shot. So you might be seeing green crosses. Those are like health bits. And if you get enough health bits, you're able to get your health shot, which is quite literal. You've got an injector, and you inject the magic juice, you recover hit points. And yes, some of the most vital upgrades are surrounding your hit points, either increasing your overall health, or increasing your HP shots, because you only got one at the outset. I think I had about 3 or 4 by the time I was able to beat Mother. Also, along those lines, you will get like augments that will help you with your health. Like one of my favorite augments was the one that allowed you to gain a permanent sliver of health for every room you cleared. And I got that once at like the end of the run and once at the beginning. Guess where that one was more helpful?
The beginning.
Yes. I mean, they do have, once again, they do have augments that will flat out upgrade your health, but I will note that nothing too egregious or amazing, at least not in the augments. There is another way that is far more rewarding, but also far more challenging. That is the challenge rooms. There's side areas where if you're able to overcome with the first-person jumping challenge.
Oh God! Can you at least see
Yeah.
your legs?
No.
Oh no!
It's bad. Like, honestly, after the first tier of levels, I did not bother, because it's really bad and finicky because you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely something I will pinpoint to when I say I hate first-person jumping challenges. Fucking garbage. Don't do this, people. It's bad. It was always bad, and it's always going to be bad. If you have to have first-person jumping, got to see the feet, so you know where you're going to land.
Hence why I asked that question.
Yes. Let me see. And putting that aside, special mention needs to go to the how do I put this? What they call the secrets, but they're not really secrets. So what they have through the levels is sometimes there's a hole in the wall. You can see it in some of the footage, and there's like this green bio wall blocking. And what you got to do is you got to take your melee weapon. Usually, you can also take, say, an explosive barrel or a poison eyeball, and be able to break it without incurring any damage. Yeah, so that's kind of the secret play with their secrets. In order to get to them, you have to break this wall that will do damage to you. And sometimes behind this bio wall, there, it's just a dead end. Sometimes there will be a bonus room where Sometimes they'll have an augment. Sometimes they'll have a bunch of pulsating things, which are called like credits bags. And once again, the meta currency. Yeah, there is also a in-game currency because there are vendors. There's also gambling machines, also found in the hidden areas. Usually 5 yen or 5 credits or 5 something or others. And like I said, it's an interesting give and take. Because it's something that makes you think about, is it worth going through this wall and losing, say, 10 hit points? It's a consideration that will diminish as you upgrade, as you get health, and also potentially ways to mitigate damage.
Right.
Like, or also, like, there's an augment that will allow you to get health by getting ammo pieces and stuff like that. So, like, but the base consideration is going this, because there's quite a few walls per level, and that does expand as you go through the run.
Mm.
And once again, going to the downside of this being a roguelike FPS, there isn't really level design.
Mm.
Like, it's all a bunch of square rooms stacked next to each other.
Well, like, were there at least like recognizable chunks that looked to be like put together, or was it all just like a random hodgepodge?
It is a random fucking hodgepodge.
Mm.
And sometimes it gets really apparent that it's random, because you will have sometimes places that go nowhere, spaces that are completely empty,
Mm.
just absolute, just things that wouldn't have been designed. Even if they were empty, there would have been like an intent behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Things, if things are empty in this, it's usually because it was generated that way. And that also include, up to including, like, sometimes the chests would be the wrong way. They'd be facing inward towards a wall.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely a cue that it was total generation, not chunks
Yep.
being linked up.
I mean, there is definitely, like, some things that are placed later on, like the bonus boss. That is, like, in the last tier of levels. And this game also does try to go for some verticality with not too impressive in terms of results.
Mm.
Once again, it's kind of hard. Like, sometimes there's a fucking just gate up there, because you got to go up, but you still got the enemy shooting at you.
Mm.
Once again, it's some of the subtler downsides of doing a roguelike expedition. But all in all, I think it came together well, except for the bosses. Bosses, I complained about it a bit on Wednesday, and I'll complain about it here. Like, the bosses, at least the after the first one wasn't too bad. The second boss provides quite the difficulty spike, but it's just the health bars are too fucking long. I
Mm.
talked about how I zoned out at times, and, like, for some reason, um, like boss 2, the Sin Eater, or like the Dark Sinner, something like that. She she at least provided, a second phase cutscene where she grew the wings and changed attacks. And then when I got her down to half health, had a aggro attack. Her eyes grew red, and then she grabbed her sword and slammed down, and a whole bunch of shockwaves came out. Good proper boss pacing. Mother, I think she generated a jump after a while, but both bosses kind of needed a bit more in terms of phase attacks for as long as their health bars was. Because after a certain point, I had seen it all. That it's not to say it wasn't a challenge, but it did get a bit tedious. But I think that is my biggest complaint with the game. Otherwise, this was actually, at least in my estimation, pretty good. I did see on the Steam reviews that some people were having stability issues and did find this overall to get tedious. This is probably a game that's best played for a couple of hours at best, and then you move on to something else. Honestly, because I think long term, I probably would get tired of the samey rooms.
How long did a run usually last for you?
A couple hours, if it was going well.
Yeah. So maybe a run or two and go do something else and then come back.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of actual 90s boomer shooters.
Well,
or at
even
least
a lot of roguelikes are generally really quick rounds.
Yeah. Now, it's like I know boomer shooters have a hard time, but that really only appeals to a certain player because, how do I put this? An average Quake level will take me 20 minutes to get through. Because I'm someone who doesn't like the fucking speed run.
Right.
But like I said, maybe it doesn't stand out too much. At least at the outset. I did highlight some, details that it's doing different from other games. But that's the thing, they're details. They're things that are under the hood or not apparent. And unfortunately, I did not have a chance to do co-op because, once again, they sent one code. It's like if I keep noting this in the reviews, but it keeps happening. Like, if you want us to try out multiplayer components, you need to send more than one code.
Especially for the price of this one.
Yeah, I think that's the other problem I had with this game. And that is its base price. It's going for an eye-searing $25. I will absolutely say that the 35% discount it's going on right now, $16.24. That is the price that this game should have been $15. It's, it is $10 too high at the base level. Basically, like, it's a good game, but not $25 good. And yeah, I think that'll about do it for me. Any other questions, comments, or concerns over Moros Protocol?
I think I'm good.
I'm going to assume Golix is good because this is an FPS boomer shooter thing.
Yeah, I really didn't have a whole lot to say. I was kind of absorbing vaguely, but I don't have much in the way of commentary.
Duly noted. Right, so that will conclude this review session. And that means it's time for the week ahead. So coming up on Wednesday, March 4th. Don't exactly know how to pronounce this, but I think it's Jitspo. of Lone Wolf Studio LLC. Right, so they have put out a game in the form of Goop Loop, which I want to say is something that we reviewed or looked at or something. I definitely recognize this thing. But they are currently in development of 2 games. Fist of the Forgotten, which I believe which has a demo on Steam right now. I think that's a Next Fest demo. Hint to Petty Fan.
I mean, if it's Next Fest, is Next Fest still going?
It still is.
Okay.
Then again, it's not. I'm not sure. Let me go look at the notes. 1 second.
Live research.
All right. No, it's not a Next Fest demo. It's a public demo. So, and he also gave us all of us codes for the upcoming game Kook. Anyway, Fist of the Forgotten. Jump, punch, slide, and swing through the remnants of civilizations, facing powerful bosses to unlock new movement and combat abilities for your giant mechanical fist as you seek out the remnants of humankind. It's a 2D platformer affair. Whereas Kook is a fast-paced Quake-like retro FPS in the Victorian area, steampunk setting with Lovecraftian monsters, distorted time and gravity, and crazy weapons. So yeah, 2 very distinct games. Indeed. I can see some similar theming looking at the screenshots, but it's going to be interesting on Wednesday. And on Friday, we do have a Friday show, a proper Friday show. On Friday, March 6th, we will be welcoming Dimitria Papacosta of CRG Studio. And we'll be talking about Crystal Fall. Crystal Fall is a free online action RPG where your ground loop matters and your skill offers endless procedural customization. Survive in a world destroyed by a mysterious asteroid and grow more powerful with steampunk weapons and lootable skills in an infinite endgame, which is releasing this month of March 2026. So, with that in mind, we also do have a new episode of Moonhawk Studio Presents happening this week. So, look forward to that. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.